pale sunlight filtered through thick leaves. A lone figure moved through the dense woods. Red hair, almost white, marked him against the dark green. He was pale, almost translucent. His name was Nick, and the steel wheelchair was his only companion. Nick pushed forward, his arms straining. The woods were silent, save for the rustle of leaves under his wheels. He was alone, always alone, but something felt different today. A prickle on his skin, a whisper on the wind. The forest held its breath. Even the birds were silent. Nick felt it too. The heavy presence, watching, waiting. His hand instinctively went to the Bowie knife strapped to his leg. Cold steel, his only defense. He navigated deeper into the woods. Each turn, each shadow held the promise of something unseen. His pale skin glistened with sweat, his breath catching in his throat. The silence was a living thing pressing in on him. The smell hit him then, musky, wild. Predator, fear, cold and sharp, shot through him. He was being hunted. It moved like smoke, a phantom in the trees. Grey fur blending seamlessly with the shadows, eyes like golden coins burning with a primal hunger. A dire wolf, larger than any Nick had ever seen. The creature circled him slowly, a predator sizing up its prey. Nick met its gaze, unflinching. Fear was a luxury he couldn't afford. He was trapped, his back against a moss-covered boulder. The wolf paused, its nostrils flaring, testing the air. Nick could feel the heat radiating from the beast. He knew this was a fight he couldn't win, but he would survive. He had to. The wolf lunged, a blur of grey fur and snapping teeth. Nick threw himself sideways, the wheelchair tipping precariously. He lashed out with the Bowie knife, connecting with the beast's shoulder. A snarl ripped through the forest. The wolf staggered back, shaking its head. Blood, dark against the grey fur, stained the leaves. Nick scrambled to right his chair, his heart pounding against his ribs. The game had begun. A deadly dance between predator and prey. Nick knew he couldn't outrun the wolf. He had to outsmart it. He had to survive. Days blurred into nights. The forest became a battleground. The wolf was relentless, its hunger a constant threat. Nick, fueled by adrenaline and fear, met each attack with desperate cunning. He used his wheelchair as a shield, maneuvering it through the trees, forcing the wolf into tight spaces. He laid traps, simple but effective, sharpened branches hidden in the undergrowth, tripwires made of vines. He was running on fumes, his body pushed to its limits. He hadn't eaten in days, but the will to live burned bright within him. He would not be another kill. The wolf was growing bolder, its hunger overriding its caution. Nick knew he was running out of time. He needed a plan, a final, desperate gamble. He lured the wolf into a clearing, a small, forgotten graveyard. Tombstones, weathered and cracked, stood like silent sentinels. This was his last stand. His pale face was grim, his eyes burning with a fierce light. He waited until the wolf was close enough to taste. Then, with a surge of adrenaline, he slammed the wheelchair into reverse, sending it hurtling backwards into the open grave behind him.